Gracious God, we thank you for the music of the church. Music that lifts our souls, enables us to pick up our druthers and to move forward. We thank you for the music in this place, not only on this Sunday, but at least for the last 47 years. So we keep singing because we have a song to sing, a song given to each one of us of a God who loves us, who forgives us, who chastens us, and who one day will call us to himself. May the words now of my mouth and the meditation of all of our hearts be found wholly pleasing and acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. The last week I got some criticism, and I'm not too small to deal with criticism. Someone who watches these services over the video link said, well, Reverend, we don't never know what your sermon title is. You just start in. That's valid criticism because they don't have the bulletin. So for those who are watching over the airwaves, the title of today's message is What COVID-19 is Teaching Us. In case you missed it, what COVID-19 is teaching us. For the past nearly 4 months, we, both you and me, have been inconvenienced by the coronavirus or COVID-19, whatever its proper name. Our lives have been literally turned upside down by this pandemic, which has sickened 2.65 million people in America alone and killed 128,000. Each of us has suffered to varying degrees due to this malicious virus. Masks are annoying. Social distancing can be problematic. The necessity for quarantining can be disruptive. You can't go where you want, when you want. You can't visit sick and suffering relatives and friends in hospitals and nursing homes. You can't even worship in the ways you are accustomed to. What in the world is going on? And when will our lives return to normal, whatever that's going to be? Well, for most of my 72 years, I have tried to live a Bible-reflective life. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. My reading of the Epistle to the Hebrews sets my thinking and my feet on the right path, as I must deal with the present dilemma. Hebrews, the 12th chapter and the 7th verse reads thusly: It is for the sake of discipline that you must endure. Is that what God is doing to us? Is that the reason our lives have been turned upside down? For the sake of discipline? Discipline, you know, that's a powerfully big word and an even bigger force in life. If you go to any dictionary, you'll find a definition similar to this: discipline, the practice of training people to obey rules or a code of behavior, using punishment to correct disobedience. You see, no discipline worth its salt is possible without the element of some punishment to correct an infraction. Now, there are three common types of discipline: preventive, supportive, and corrective. Again, preventive, supportive, and corrective. I would leave you to ponder them and unpack them in your own mind. But in our lesson today from Hebrews, the writer sets forth why we should, no, why we must cheerfully submit to discipline. First, he says, the great saints of the past submitted to discipline foist upon them. Second, any measure of discipline cannot compare with what Jesus Christ had to bear. And the author is firm in his position that discipline is sent from God, and that no life can have any value apart from that discipline. Now, he uses parental discipline as the example. For a parent always disciplines his child. It would not be a mark of love to let a child do what he or she likes to do, and nothing but to have an easy way. It would show that the parent regarded the child as no better than an illegitimate child to whom he felt neither love nor any responsibility. Now, we submit to an earthly parent's discipline, which is imposed only for a short time until we reach years of maturity, and which at best always contains an element of arbitrariness. The earthly parent is the one to whom we owe our bodily life. So then how much more should we submit to the discipline of God, to whom we owe our immortal spirits, and who in his wisdom seeks nothing but our highest good? In this, the writer of Hebrews insists that we must look on all the hardships of life as the discipline of God. A discipline of God that is sent to work not for our harm, but for our ultimate and our highest good. Now, to prove his point, the writer of Hebrews quotes from Proverbs 3, verses 11 and 12. For there are many ways in which a person may look at the discipline which God sends him. First, he may resignedly accept that discipline. That is what the Stoics did. They held that nothing in this world happens outside of the will of God. Therefore, they argued, there is nothing to do but to accept it. For to do anything else is simply to beat your head up against the walls of the universe. And that is possibly the acceptance of supreme wisdom. But nonetheless, it is the acceptance not of a father's love, but of a father's power. It is not a willing, but a defeated acceptance. Second, a man can accept discipline with the grim sense of getting it over with as soon as possible. A certain Roman said, I will let nothing interrupt my life. If a man accepts discipline like that, he regards it as an infliction, to be struggled through with defiance and certainly not with gratitude. That sounds to me like Donald Trump. Third, there is a man who may accept discipline with the self-pity which leads in the end to a kind of collapse. Some people, when they are caught up in some difficult situation, give the impression that they are the only people in the world whom life has ever hurt. They are lost, therefore, in their own self-pity. And fourth are those persons who may accept discipline as a punishment which they resent and resent bitterly. It is strange that at this time of the Hebrews' writing, the Romans saw in national and personal disasters nothing but the vengeance of the gods. And here we are in 2020, and there are still people who regard God as vindictive. When something happens to them or to those whom they love, they question what did I do to deserve all of this? And the question is asked in such a tone as to make it clear that they regard the whole matter as an unjust punishment from God. These are they who grumble today about not being able to go to the beach or to otherwise hang out on this 4th of July weekend. But it never dawns on them to ask, what is God trying to teach me and to do with me through this most dreadful of experiences? So we come to the last attitude. A person may accept discipline as coming from a loving father. Jerome, the great Roman philosopher, said a paradoxical but true thing. The greatest anger of all is when God is no longer angry with us when we sin. What Jerome meant was that the supreme punishment is when God lets us alone and labels us unteachable. All of the protocols set upon us in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic are inconvenient. They are frustrating. They are uncomfortable. But we must cease our self-pity, our resentments, our rebellious complaints, and remember that there is no discipline of God which does not take its source in God's love, and that is not aimed for our good. So on this first Sunday in July, as we begin the 4th month of this pandemic, stop your complaining. Put on your mask, socially distance, watch where you go and with whom, and thank God He has allowed you to see yet another day. There is a half sheet which I hastily pushed in the program this morning, which is a way we can triumphantly sing our personal testimony. And are we yet alive and see each other's face? Glory and thanks to Jesus give for His almighty grace. Let us stand.